If you're a first-time home buyer in Halifax or anywhere in HRM right now, there's one question that comes up in almost every conversation that I have. And it's, should I buy now or should I wait? With the market constantly changing, honestly, this is such a good question to ask when you're just starting off and thinking about your next move. Buying a home is one of the biggest financial decisions you will ever make. Nobody wants to feel like they're making the wrong move at the wrong time. A rush sense of panic has certainly been the vibe over the market in the last few years, but for the first time in Halifax and HRM since COVID, things are feeling a bit more calm. From this sense of calm in the market, most people aren't trying to time things ever so perfectly. They're more focused on avoiding regret and buying the wrong home for them. Now, in this video, I want to walk you through the real costs of waiting to buy a home in the 2026 Halifax market. This is not a fear-based video or a hype-driven story type of video. This is just how waiting actually plays out in real life for buyers and why timing matters more than people think. Now, waiting often feels like the responsible option. It feels cautious. It's always smart to save instead of spending your hard-earned money on one of the most expensive things you could ever buy. People assume that if they just sit tight, prices might come down, competition might improve, and conditions might get better. And in some markets, at certain times, that logic can hold up. But Halifax isn't a market that pauses. It's more fluid, like water. And even though the past few years have been pretty rough sailing, we're starting to see a calm after the storm. Now, the truth is, what most buyers don't realize is that waiting isn't neutral. You're not pressing pause on the market while everything else stays the same. You're making a decision that still has consequences, even if you don't feel them immediately or today. One of the biggest misconceptions that I see is that a small price increase doesn't really matter. People hear numbers like 2 or 3% and they think it's insignificant, but in real terms, that difference adds up very quickly. On an average Halifax home, even a modest increase doesn't just affect the purchase price. It impacts how much you need for your down payment. It changes your monthly mortgage payments. It increases the amount of debt you're carrying for longer term. And once your purchase price moves up, you don't get a chance to buy yesterday's home at yesterday's prices. That's where the cost of waiting quietly shows up. We need to keep in mind that a 1 to 2% increase on gas, groceries, cost of living will be minor compared to a 1 to 2% increase on the purchase price of a home. To put this into perspective, a 2% increase on your average home today in Halifax is almost $12,000 added to your mortgage. Right now, Halifax is what I describe as a more balanced or neutral market. Homes are taking longer to sell. Buyers aren't rushing in the same way that they did during peak seasons. This happens every winter. This is also where I think that the most opportunity is for buyers all year round. We also need to keep in mind that sellers who are listing in this market are usually more serious about selling. They're not just testing the waters to see what their home could be priced at. This is the perfect storm and creates something that buyers don't always get: leverage. In a market like this, strategy actually matters. You have time to think, you have room to ask questions, you have space to negotiate in ways that simply didn't exist once the market heats up. And most importantly, you have less competition from other buyers who are waiting on the sidelines for the spring and summer markets to make their literal move. Winter markets in Halifax tend to give buyers an advantage. Sellers who list during this month don't usually want to wait. They also are motivated to sell, and they already, in some cases, have plans to move or make a purchase elsewhere. That motivation changes the conversation. Buyers often have more flexibility on price, more openness to conditions and negotiations, and you can even have better closing times that fit your needs better. Once activity picks up in the spring and summer, that breathing room disappears quicker than you might think. Every year, the same pattern repeats itself. Spring arrives, inventory increases, and so does buyer competition. More people enter the market at the same time, which shifts the leverage away from the buyers and back towards the sellers. That's when multiple offers start becoming more common. That's when conditions begin to be waived. And that's when emotions start driving decisions instead of clarity. I never want any of my clients to feel like they've had to settle on a home. I want them to feel like they made the right decision for their next move because they had information and clarity. Nothing is more emotional than falling in love with the home and finding out that you've been outbid, or that someone had different conditions that you weren't willing to compromise for. This is why buying before the spring and summer rush means you're competing against fewer people, not more. Even if the prices look similar on paper, in terms of offers, you might be able to have more conditions today that protect you and are less likely to find or feel pressured when making these big decisions. Price isn't the only variable that matters here either. Interest rates play a huge role in affordability, and even small changes can have meaningful impact on your buying power. Now, interest rates are still projected to go down a little bit in 2026, but slight rate increases can affect your monthly payments. They can affect the total amount of interest you pay over time, and even how much you get approved for by a bank or a lender. So when you get your pre-approval, oftentimes the rate that you're pre-approved at is locked in, which creates stability while you are looking for homes and for the right option for you. Waiting can expose you to changes that you can't control, even the price itself or what the current mortgage rate is. One thing I want to be very clear about is that I'm not telling everyone to rush out and buy a home immediately right now today because it's January. Waiting can absolutely make sense, but only when it's part of a clear plan. Waiting without understanding the costs, the trade offers, and the market you're in can quietly put buyers behind. Now, the people who struggle most aren't the ones who waited intentionally, they're the ones who waited by default. Real Halifax buying isn't about predicting the future. It's about understanding the present and what we can control today, knowing where the leverage exists, where the risks could show up, and how timing affects real numbers, not just headlines that we read about in the paper or online. If you're a first-time home buyer trying to decide whether buying now makes the most sense for your situation, contact me. I'd love to connect and answer any questions you might have. My information is in the description of this video, and I also have a link to my free home buying guide strategy. That it just breaks down the home buying process in a little bit more detail. But I would love to connect today and help with your next move.